Good day, everyone. We are Group 2 and we are going to present to you the Chapter 10 titled The REA Approach to Database Modeling. Before we start our presentation, let me introduce to you our members. Now, the first reporter that will be me, yours truly, Emmar Velasco. The second one is Maxene Keona de Vera. Third one is Cassandra Lei Lorenzo. Fourth rather, Unah Kyla Santiago. Fifth is Allyssa Gwyneth Padilla. The sixth is Camille Siodena. The last but not the least is Jedelyn Maica Abanico. Now, let's begin to our first topic. For our first topic will be the REA approach. Central to the database philosophy is the recognition that corporates data should support the information needs of all the user in the organization. An important aspect of data modeling, therefore, is creating a model that faithfully reflects the organization's physical reality. This is not easily accomplished when different people within the organization see and use the same data differently. Um, Other meaning is central database philosophy is the core principle of the data based philosophy emphasize catering to the information requirements of all users within an organization. Achieving this entails creating a data model that accurately mirrors the organization's real-world operations. However, um, accommodating diverse perspectives on the same data within the organization can be challenging. You will recall from chapter 9 that a user view. User view is the set of data that particular user needs to achieve his or her assigned task. A general ledger clerk user view will include the organization's chart of accounts but not detailed transaction data. Um, A sales manager's view may include detailed customer sales data organized by a product, region, and salesperson. A production manager's view may include finished goods, inventory on hand, available manufacturing capacity, inventory leads times. A user views also refers to the specific data set that caters to a user's task and responsibility. For instance, a general ledger clerk's view includes the chart of accounts, while a sales manager view encompasses detailed customer sales data categorized by various factors. Each user needs differ, presenting a challenge in creating a unified model. And issues arising from dominant single view. A problem arises in meeting these diverse needs when a single view that is inappropriate for entity wide um, purposely dominates the collection, summarization, storage, and reporting of transaction and resource data. Problem emerge when a single view, all suited for organization-wide purposes, dictates the handling of transaction and resource data. This approach affects the data collection, summarization, storage, and reporting. Um, the tradition accounting focus on debits, credits, and GAAP may hinder comprehensive decision making and risk management. Furthermore, shifting perspectives towards inclusive information. Um, Provision modern management requires a broader spectrum of financial and non-financial information than the traditional accounting system usually offer. Encouraged by research, the accounting field is urged to move away from its limited focus on accounting standards and embrace information that aids decision making and risk control. Next is managing diverse user view. Organizations have responded to the challenge of diverse user views by creating separate information systems for each perspective. However, this approach leads to disconnected system and data duplication, often requiring manual data re-enter. Accuracy and currency of data become significant concerns. Next is one of the main topics of my report is the REA model, from theory to practical application. Originally, conceptualized in 1982 as a theoretical framework for accounting, the REA model has evolved into practical solution. It provides a structured approach to handle diverse users' view and offers an effective foundation for designing accounting information. A path forward, the REA model exemplifies a solution to a challenge of catering to diverse user view in accounting information systems. By embracing semantic models and involving beyond tradition accounting constraints, organizations can develop information systems that cater to the multifaceted um, needs of modern management, promoting more informed decision making and enhanced risk management. The REA model is accounting framework for modeling an organization's critical resources, events, and agents and the relation between them. Unlike some traditional accounting systems, REA system permit both accounting and non-accounting data to be identified, captured, and stored in centralized database. To summarize the REA model is a way to organize and understand an organization crucial elements, resources, events, and agents along with their connections. It's a flexible accounting framework that can handle various types of data. Unlike some older systems, it can store both financial and non-financial in one central place. I want to add more details about REA model. Benefits of the REA model. First is comprehensive data handling. REA model can manage accounting and non-accounting data together. Second, or number two, is centralized database. All data is stored in one place, making it easy to access and manage. Third, or the number three, is customized view. The model let us create views that match each other's users' need in the organization. Next is implementation choices. Data number one is database types. REA models can be used with relational or object-oriented databases. Number two, common choice. We'll focus on relational databases, which are widely used in businesses. Next is the basic REA model. Entities, the model has three main types: resources, events, and agents. Associations, these are links between entities forming a connected structure. Representation, we'll call the diagrams show these connections REA diagrams. Using REA diagrams, similar to ER diagrams, REA diagrams are visions of entity relation diagrams. Key techniques apply. Just like traditional the ER diagrams, we describe connections cardinality or how many links and table normalization. To simplify, the REA model simplifies how we understand an organization key parts. It's like a map that shows resources, events, and agents and how they relate. This model can manage various data types together and offers customized views for user. When using diagrams, we follow similar rules as traditional ER diagrams. Now let's move on to elements of an REA model. REA model classifications. REA model includes economic events and support events. Economic resources form the foundation of an organization operations. The REA model helps in understanding their value and utilization. Economic events, a core part of model, drive changes in resources and play a pivotal role in accounting. By capturing economic events in granular detail, organizations can build a comprehensive and informative database for effective decision making and management. Example of elements of an REA model is economic events, stock flow, duality, an external economic agent, and an internal economic agent. Now we are in this table that illustrate the basic REA model, the figure 10-1. Now, first is economic resources. Economic resources or events. These events causes changes on increase or decrease in resources. Then the stock flow is the result from the activities such as sales of products to customers, receipt of cash from customers, and purchases of a raw material from vendors. Next is economic event. As I said earlier, it is the cause of changes in increase and decrease of or in resources. Then the duality. Duality, it means each economic event is mirrored by an associated economic event in the opposite direction. Next is participate and an external economic agent or an internal economic agent. First is an external economic agent. It refers to any individual entity or organization that interacts the organization's resources and events from the outside organization. These agents plays a crucial role in the flow of resources, engaging in transactions and events that affects the organization's operations. They can take on various roles and participate in different activities within the model. They are represented represented in the basic REA model to show how they contribute to the flow of resources and information and influence the organization's decisions and strategy. Now, moving on to an internal economic agent. It refers to individuals or entities within the organization itself that plays roles and participate in various resource related activities and events. These agents are part of organization internal structure and contribute to management utilization and exchange of resources. Internal economic agents are depicted in the basic REA model to represent how they interact with resources and participate in events. Now let's move on to the slide, which is REA model showing duality of a give and receive exchange. The REA model captures the duality nature of economic exchange involving giving and receiving. This duality fundamental to in understanding transactions where the resources flow between parties. In the REA model, the duality of give and receive exchanges is a core concept. It's the simultaneous nature of transaction, emphasizing the giving and receiving are interconnected and integral to complete economic exchange. This understanding contributes to accurate representation and comprehensive analysis of resource flows, and transactions within an organization. Now let's move on to the slide that illustrates the REA model showing duality of a give and receive exchange. First is give activity. In the REA model, the concept of duality pertains to economic exchanges involving both giving and receiving. Let's delve into give activity within this duality, understanding its significance and representation. The give the give activity refers to the action of providing resources to another party in an economic exchange. It involves the transfer of resources from one agent to another. The give action is a part of two-sided transaction where both giving and receiving are interdependent. Example of this is customer purchasing a product. Retail stores engage with in the give activity by providing the customer with the product. the product or the resource flows from the store to the customer. This giving the is meaningful because it is balanced by the customer receiving of the product. Next is receive activity. In the context of REA model duality of giving and receiving exchange, the receive activity plays a pivotal role in capturing the essence of receiving resources with an economic transaction. The receive activity refers to the action of accepting and acquiring resources from another party in an economic exchange. It involves the movement of resources from one agent to another. The receive activity and the corresponding give activity are interdependent and complete each other. Example of this is customer receiving a purchase product. In a retail transaction, the customer engages in the receive activity by obtaining a purchase product. The product or resource move from the store to the customer, and receiving the product holds meaning to due to the store's giving activity. That will be all for me. Once again, I'm Emerlis R. Velasco. The next topic will be presented by Max de Vera. That will be all. Thank you.
Greetings everyone, I am Maxene de Vera and I will now be continuing the discussion on Chapter 10, the REA approach to database modeling, moving forward with developing an REA model. So the previous chapter discussed the process of view modeling, which is a step where the person designing a database figures out and arranges the specific data that different users need to do something important like making a choice or getting a job done. And the result of this work is a type of drawing called an ER diagram, and it shows what data each user needs. And it is also used to show the connections between data in a clear way. On the other hand, there's a different approach called the REA approach. And this approach also uses diagrams to show how things are related, like an ER diagram, but there are some important differences that make it stand out. So, before we dive into how REA view modeling works, let's first understand these differences between ER and REA diagrams. And this will help us see how REA diagrams are unique and how they help us organize information. So, what are the differences between ER and REA diagrams? ER and REA diagrams differ visually in a significant way, but let us first focus on the number of classes of each. Entities in ER diagrams are composed of only one class, while entities in an REA diagram are divided into three classes. So, first is resources, which are the things of value that a business uses or controls, such as goods, assets, or inventory. Second is events. These represent the economic activities that take place within the business involving the exchange or transformation of resources. Events include actions like sales, purchases, or production. Third are agents, which are individuals, organizations, or entities that participate in the events, and they can be customers, suppliers, employees, or any other party involved in the business processes. Moving forward with the arrangement of entities of H. In ER diagram, their proximity to other entities is determined by their cardinality and by what is visually pleasing to keep the diagrams readable. Cardinality refers to the relationship between entities. It indicates how many instances of one entity are associated with instances of another entity. It also helps determine the placements and connections between entities. And as for readability, ER diagrams aim to be easy to understand. So the arrangement of entities is influenced by what looks visually pleasing and logical, ensuring that the diagrams remain clear and comprehensible to readers. While in REA diagram, these three classes are organized into constellations based on their relationship. The diagram visually represents how resources, events, and agents interact within the business process. And this organization helps to depict the flow of economic activities and the connections between different elements. We can see the arrangement of entities in an REA diagram as illustrated in Figure 10-4. This is an REA model showing duality of a give and receive exchange. Economic duality refers to events that occur in pairs. It represents the give event and receive event of an economic exchange. An example would be in the events column or events part of the diagram or a figure. We can see duality between give economic event and receive economic event. However, we must take note that during view integration, which will be later discussed in this chapter, when several individual REA diagrams are merged to form a single global model, the constellations of entities may necessarily be altered. As a design tool during the view modeling phase, however, the constellation convention is typically followed. Moving forward, ER and REA diagrams also differ in sequencing of events. ER diagrams present a static picture of the underlying business phenomena. Relationships between data are shown through cardinality and associations, but the sequence of activities that determine the cardinality and associations is not clearly represented. This simply means that it provides a snapshot of business data relationships, but they do not depict the sequence of activities behind these connections. Furthermore, while cardinality and associations show relationships, they do not convey the process flow leading to these relationships. REA diagrams, however, are typically organized from top to bottom within the constellations to focus on the sequence of events. An advantage of this is that during systems development, management and non technical users better understand REA diagrams. They are then able to understand the diagrams during system development, which enhances clarity and comprehension. So for the last differences, ER and REA diagrams also differ pertaining to the naming conventions of entities. In ER diagrams, entity names are always represented in the singular noun form, but REA modeling only applies this rule when assigning names to resource and agent entities. Event entities, however, are given verb or action names such as sell inventory, take order, or receive cash. Because of this, the reader should therefore be careful to not confuse an event entity with a process. Event entities on an REA diagram represent and describe database tables that will store data about processes, but they are not representing or describing the process themselves. After identifying the differences between ER and REA diagrams, let us now move forward with view modeling, creating an individual REA diagram. This section describes the view modeling process as applied to creating an REA diagram. To describe view modeling, it is a multi-step process for creating an individual REA model where the result is a single view of the entire database. So the process involves four steps. First is identify the event entities. Next is identify the resource entities. Next is identify the agent entities. And lastly, determine associations and cardinalities between entities. These procedures are performed for each organizational function being modeled. The result is several individual REA diagrams, and the modeling process is completed during the view integrating phase, which will be described later on, where the individual models are consolidated into a single global model. So, para ma-illustrate ang REA view modeling, gamitan natin siya ng simplified description ng revenue cycle process. So, kunwari, si Apex Supply Company is isa siyang downtown Philadelphia wholesaler ng electrical products. And then, binibenta niya yung products na yon sa mga electrical retailers. And then, kunwari, meron siyang approximately 10,000 items. Yung mga customers niya, o-order yon gamit yung phone nila, and then babayadan nila yon on credit or utang gamit yung line of credit arrangement sa Apex. And then, ang common transaction between Apex at ng customers, una, yung customer Kokontakin nila yung customer service department ng Apex para ma-verify and para ma-verify yung availability at ma-check yung price ng mga item na hinahanap nila. And then, kunwari, nag-decide na sila para bilhin yung items, malilipat naman siya sa isang sales agent na kukuha ng order niya. So, take note, yung una muna yung customer service department para sa inquiry, and then sales agent para naman sa pag-place ng order. And then, after ma-place yung order, yung shipping clerk, isi-send niya yung product sa customer gamit ang isang carrier. Yung billing clerk naman, ire-record na niya yung sales sa sales journal para ma-prepare ng invoice, and then sa kanya isi-send sa customer. And yung customer na yon, meron siyang 30 days. 30 days para mabayadan yung order niya. Yung accounts receivable clerk naman, meron rin siyang copy nung invoice na pinadala sa customer para ma-record naman yun sa AR ledger. And then, after nun, for example, within 30 days, nag-send na yung customer ng cheque at ng remittance advice sa Apex. Yung cash receipts clerk naman ang magre-receive ng cheque, saka niya i-record yun sa cash receipts journal, and then i-update niya yung cash account ng company. And then, yung remittance advice naman, mapupunta yun sa AR clerk or accounts receivable clerk para ma-update or mabawasan yung AR no customer. So, yung example na yan, it shows the key features of an REA modeling through revenue cycle process. And that is it for my brief report. Let us now have Ms. Lorenzo for an in-depth discussion on the steps in developing an REA model.
Lesson day, everyone. I am Lei Lorenzo, and my report highlights the significance of identifying and classifying event entities in the context of developing an REA, resources, events, and agents model. The report outlines the steps involved in this process and emphasizes the distinction between economic and support events. The example provided centers around the revenue cycle scenario at Apex Company. The step 1 is all about identifying event entities. The initial step in creating an REA model is to pinpoint event entities within the business function being modeled. In the case of the revenue cycle at Apex, the following event entities were identified. Number 1, verify availability. Classified as a support event, this action does not directly impact resources. However, it offers valuable insights into customer inquiries and demand patterns, aiding management decision. Number 2 is take order. Depending on circumstances, take order can be economic or support. In this instance, it's considered a support event as it primarily involves commitments rather than actual resource exchanges. Third is ship product. An economic event, ship product involves a real decrease in inventory as a physical product is given to the customer. Lastly is receive cash. Similarly, receive cash is an economic event as it involves the increase of cash resources resulting from a sale. For a comprehensive REA model, it is crucial to differentiate between economic events, which involve direct changes in economic resources, and support events, which provide supplementary information without directly altering resources. For invalid entity types, the report highlights that REA modeling focuses on value chain events that use cash to acquire resources and generate revenues. Certain activities, such as traditional bookkeeping tasks, are considered invalid entity types and do not belong in REA diagram. Now, let's move on with the second step, which is about identifying resource entities. The subsequent step in developing an REA model after identifying event entities is to identify the resource affected by these events. This phase establishes the connection between event and resources, highlighting the economic impact on resources due to events. Now, let's talk about the economic and support events relationship with resources. Economic events with an REA model are linked to resource entities whose economic value is either increased or decreased by the event. Support events, although related to resources, do not directly alter the value of resources. It's noteworthy that support events, even though not leading to changes in resource value, can still have implications in specific scenarios. When it comes to employee services as a resource, An intriguing consideration is the theoretical argument surrounding employee actors, which includes support events like verify availability or take order. While it's plausible to view all employee actions as consuming a resource called employee services, this is contingent on specific context. In the case of Apex Supply, where employee services are not tracked to specific projects or products, this entity will not be incorporated into the REA model. Now let's move on with Apex revenue cycle and resource impact. Within the revenue cycle of Apex company, economic events lead to changes in two primary resources. First is ship product. This event results in a reduction of the inventory resource as a physical product is given to the consumer. Second is receive cash. Similarly, the cash resource is increased as a result of this event, representing the monetary flow from the sale. While the support events verify availability and take order are linked to inventory, they do not directly affect its value. Instead, these events provide information and commitments without causing changes to the resource. Last step that I will be discussing is identifying agent entities. After identifying event and resource entities, the next step in creating an REA model involves recognizing the agent entities associated with each economic event. Agents represent individuals or entities that interact with events and play integral role in the process. For every economic event entity in the REA model, there are both internal and external agents. In the case of Apex Company's revenue cycle, the external agent consistently associated with all four events is customer. Additionally, the internal agents linked to events include verify availability. The customer services clerk is the internal agent who participates in this event. Next is take order. The sales representative takes on the role of the internal agent in the event. And number three is ship product. The shipping clerk is designated as the internal agent involved in the event. And lastly, receive cash. The cash receipts clerk is the internal agent engaged in this event. For clarity of an REA diagram, each instance of an internal agent such as sales representative or shipping clerk is visually depicted as a distinct entity. However, it's important to understand that in the practical database implementation, these instances are consolidated into a single employee table, with each instance corresponding to a row in the table. Having identified event, resource, and agent entities, the subsequent phase involves creating the REA diagram. This visual representation will effectively communicate the intricate relationships and interactions between these entities, facilitating a deep understanding of the business process. That's all for my report. Now, for the next reporter, let's have Miss Unah Santiago to discuss the next step.
Good day, everyone. I'm Kyla Santiago, and I'm here to discuss the step four, which is determine associations and cardinalities between entities. Let's first discuss the concept of association and cardinalities. When we say association, it is the nature of the relationship between two entities as the dotted line connecting them represents. While when we say cardinality, it is the degree of association between the entities. It describes the number of possible occurrences in one entity that are associated with a single occurrence in a related entity. These are the four basic forms of cardinality: zero or one and only one, zero or many, and one or many. A figure shown on the screen is the alternative techniques for representing cardinality. So first alternative, it represents the crow's foot notation method, which illustrates that yung occurrence na pwedeng mangyari sa entity A is associated with zero or many sa entity B. Best example is, let's say, si entity A is the student and entity B is the course or subject. Si entity A, pwede siya maka-associate ng zero or many subject. Thus, the lowest possibility ng cardinality is zero and the highest is many. Pero may mga pagkakataon naman na yung cardinality is written dun mismo sa association tulad ng sa alternative 2 and 3 which represents yung 1, yung 0, and yung letter M. The upper cardinalities for each entity define the overall association. The figure shown on the screen naman is the association and cardinality in an REA diagram. Sa figure 10.8 naman is the revised data for Apex. It was simplified and mas madaling intindihan dahil some redundant instances are eliminated. Ginamit dito yung Krauss-Foot notation rather than using the explicit way. Cardinality reflects the business rules that are in play for a particular organization. Sometimes the rules are abused and are the same for all organizations. Example is yung normal cardinality sa customer and take order. Sinabi dito na one and only one is to zero or many. Ibig sabihin nito is yung customer may place order zero or many, pero yung order na yun is reflected as one order lang during the sales period. The association between these entities, one is to many and would never be one is to one, as this would mean that the organization restrict each customer to an upper limit of only one order, which is illogical. The association between internal agents and event entities follows this same pattern. Our organization would expect its employee to participate in many events over time, not just one. Let's now discuss cardinality between the verify availability and take order entities. The cardinality between them is 0 or 1 sa take order and 1 or only 1 sa verify availability. Best example nito is a customer verifies the availability ng isang product, considered na siya as one customer inquiry. Pero hindi ibig sabihin na nag-inquire siya is he will make an order. Kaya ang cardinality sa take order is 0 or 1 since he may or may not place order kahit nag-verify siya ng some product. Now, let's discuss the cardinality between the shipped product and received cash entities. The cardinality between the shipped product and received cash entities is one or many to zero or one. Since yung Apex company is a wholesaler, let's assume na yung mga debt are paid in full, walang partial payments. Ibig sabihin lang nito is yung several shipment ng product have an invoice on a single cash payment. Ibig sabihin yung Apex customer may pay for multiple shipment with a single cash receipt. Now let's discuss the cardinality between cash and received cash entities. The cardinality between cash and received cash entities is one and only one to zero or many. Best example nito is the Apex company received cash from several customers, pero yung cash na to is deposited into one account and recorded in one account, which is the cash. The cash resource of an organization is composed of several different accounts, such as the general operating account, payroll impress account, petty cash, and so on. These are the consolidated for financial reporting into a single account but are used and tracked separately. The figure or the model in figure 10.8 depicts three examples of many or many associations. The first of this is between the verify availability and inventory entities. A one or many cardinality exists at the inventory end of the association and a zero or many cardinalities lies at the verify availability in the period end. Ibig sabihin lang nito is yung customer may ask one or many items sa inventory, pero at the end, he may acquire or order zero or many items. The second many or many association exists between the take order and inventory entities. A one or many cardinality exists at the inventory end of the association and zero or many association cardinality is at the take order end. Ibig sabihin nito is yung isang order pwedeng isa lang or many items, pero yung specific na order na yon ay hindi pa no-order or maraming beses na siya na-order. Lastly is the cardinality between the ship, goods, and inventory entities. A similar situation exists between the ship, goods, and inventory entities nga. In each of these cases, the upper cardinality of many creates an many or many association, which we know from chapter 9. This situation are the result of repeating group data that needs to be normalized before implementing the model in a relational database. The solution is to create three linked tables that contain the primary keys of the associated tables. The linked tables will also contain details pertaining to items queried, the orders taken, and the product sheet.
View integration, creating an enterprise-wide REA model. I'm Allyssa, Gwyneth, and Padilla, and I will discuss you this part of the topic. The view modeling process described in the previous section produces an individual REA model of the revenue cycle for Apex Supply. This section explains how multiple REA diagrams, each created in its own view modeling process, and are integrated into single global or enterprise model. The section then explains how the enterprise model is implemented into a relational database and user views constructed. To give you guys a brief understanding of the three step, I will give you a short intro about it. First, consolidate individual models. So think of each REA diagram as a piece of bigger puzzle. Each diagram represents a different part of Apex supplies, revenue cycle like sales, inventory, or expenses. When we say consolidate, it's like putting these puzzle pieces together to see the entire picture of how money flows in the company. So the second, define key and attributes. Imagine you're organizing a big collection of items. Each item need a unique label or primary key to distinguish it from the rest. For example, every customer gets a unique customer number like membership card. Those items often relate to each other like pieces in a jigsaw puzzle. To show this connection, we use special codes or the foreign keys. For instance, a sale might connect a customer with the product they bought. Think of attributes as tag on this item. They tell us more about each item. For a customer, an attribute might be their name. For a product, it could be its price. Third, create a database and user views. Now, picture a big storage room where all these labeled items are kept. That's your database. Inside the storage room, you neatly arrange items based on their connection. So, items that are connected are stored close to each other. Once everything is organized, you can make special windows or the user views that let you see specific groups of items together. These windows are like customized reports. For instance, you can have a sales report window that shows customer names, product, and sales amount. It's like looking at focus summary of the Apex supplies sales. Now, we're going deeper in explanation of the first step. Next. Step 1, consolidate the individual models. Because Apex is a wool supply company with no production facilities, model consolidation for them will include the previously developed revenue cycle model which you can see guys sa figure 10-8, and the expenditure cycle models for purchase or the cash disbursement and payroll illustrated in figures 10-10 and 10-11 respectively. This 10-9 diagram shows link table, which are essential for handling many-to-many relationship in a database, are typically omitted from the diagram itself. Instead, they are implied through the many-to-many association. This omission preserves the diagram visual clarity and aligns with the focus on a conceptual modeling rather than the technical implementation details. During actual database design and implementation, these link tables are created by the database professionals as they are crucial for functionality. In short, for reporting and conceptual understanding, we don't need to clutter the REA diagram with link tables. We can rely on the implied many-to-many relationship. 10-10 shows the purchase and cash disbursements procedure, and there is a three events in Apex purchases and cash disbursement system. First is order product. The order product event is like making a shopping list. Here's how it works. First, need for inventory. When the stores realize it's running low on product because the customer have bought them, think of this as out of stock situation. They need their stock. So the second is purchasing clerk. The person is responsible for ordering more products is like your personal shopper. They decide what to buy. The third is supplier. The supplier is the store supplier, the place they get the products from. And the fourth is placing order. The purchasing clerk decides what products to buy and how many. This step doesn't immediately increase the store's product stock. It's more like making a plan to refill the shelves. So, order product is about making a plan to restock products when they run low, but it doesn't immediately add more products to the store shelves. It's like creating a shopping list for the store. Second, the received product. The received product event is when the store gets the product it ordered from the supplier. Here how it works. Getting goods. The store receives the products they order from the supplier. It's like getting a package you ordered online. Second, receiving clerk. There is a person, the receiving clerk, whose job to handle these incoming products. They count, inspect, and make sure everything is in good condition. And the third, putting products away. The received products are then transported into the warehouse and placed on the store shelves. This is like organizing your new stuff after receiving a package. Fourth, ownership transfer. At this point, the store officially owns this product. It's like the moment you own something you bought. And the fifth, updating the records. The store update its inventory records to reflect that they now have this product in stock. The Serum 1 cardinality means that sometimes there might be an order product that hasn't been received yet or no received product. It's like having something on your shopping list but not having it delivered to you to your door yet. Last, the third event, disburse cash. The disburse cash event is when the store pay its suppliers. Here how it works. Paying supplier. This event is like writing checks or transferring money to suppliers as payment for the product received. Second, cash decrease. When the store makes this payment, the amount of cash they have goes down. It's like your bank balance decreasing when you pay your bills. Third, one to many with supplier is the one to many association means each payment is made just one supplier. However, a single supplier can receive multiple payments over time. It's like you paying different bills to various company, but each company gets paid separately. Fourth, one to many with received product. This association implies that each receipt of products or received product event is paid in full. There are no partial payments for one receipt, but the store can combine multiple receipts into a single payment to reduce the number of checks they write. It's like paying several bills with one big check. Additionally, notice that there are many to many associated between order product and inventory entities and between the received product and inventory entities. This show that orders and received item may involve multiple products. Similarly, each product in inventory might have been ordered or received multiple times. This many to many association are resolved in the database by adding linking tables but aren't shown in the diagram for simplicity. Finally, while the diagram depicts internal agents separately, like purchase and clerk, in reality, there are instances of the employee entity. These individual agents will be consolidated into single employee table when creating the final database. This simplifies the database structure while still capturing their distinct roles. Next diagram. The REA diagram in figure 10-11 outlines Apex Supply's payroll procedure. It contains two primary economic events. First, get time, and second, disperse cash. First, get time. This event represents the process of employee providing their time, which is considered a valuable resources, or the employee service. The supervisor and external agents oversees and manage these resources. Unlike tangible resources like cash or inventory, time can't be stored. Instead, it's increased when employee contribute their time. The event captures daily instances of employees contributing time, often recorded using a system like time clocks. Second, this Boris Gosh. This event is about paying employees for their services, which results in a decrease in the cash resource. The payroll clerk, an internal agent, is involved in the process. Payments aren't made daily. Usually, employees work for a week, 2 weeks, or even a month before receiving their paychecks. So here's the association and the cardinalities. The association between get time and worker and supervisor entities indicates that not all employees may have contributed time during a specific period. This includes new employees or those on leave. The association between this disbursed cash, get time, reflects timing difference between employees contributing time and receiving payment. Typically, employees aren't paid daily. So, the one to many cardinality on the get time side suggests that one or more instances of get time may exist for each dispersed instance. Disbursed cash instance. So the zero one cardinality on the disbursed cash side implies that at the specific point or midweek, a get time instant may exist without having been paid. However, each get time instant is paid only once. Importantly, where the diagram includes employee services as a shadow resource or dotted lines, to many REA modeling and convention, it won't be part of the final enterprise-wide REA diagram because Apex doesn't track employee time to a specific customer interaction or orders. Figure dash 12. In the enterprise-wide REA diagram, we bring together all the individual REA diagrams into a single comprehensive view. Let's make this complex diagram easier to understand. Key elements in the diagram. So the first, inventory and cash resources. In the center of the diagram, you'll find two critical sources, inventory and cash. These are like the heart of the company's operation. Inventory represents product and cash represents money, of course. Second, event constellation. Surrounding inventory and cash are two group of events. The first group of events on the left involve action that increase inventory or decrease cash. This include process like purchasing product. The second group of events on the right represents action that decrease inventory or increase cash, such as selling products. And the third, agents. Agents are the people or entities involved in these events. They are depicted around the edges of the diagram. To simplify, we've combined redundant agents where possible, for example, the disbursed cash. The disbursed cash event, which occurs in both payroll and purchase or cash disbursement, is represented only once. Fourth, the internal agents. Internal agents like employees are shown individually instead of collectively as employee to maintain clarity about their specific role. And fifth, multiple appearance of supplier and customer. To avoid to avoid crossing association lines, you'll notice that suppliers and customer appear multiply and diagram. This is done for clarity. Overall, this consolidated diagram gives a comprehensive view of how resources, events, and agents interact in Apex supply operations. It's like seeing the entire dance of the company's activities in one glance. The center is where the action happens with inventory and cash, and the surrounding events and agents show how these resources flow and are managed. Thank you for listening.
In view integration, creating an enterprise-wide REA model, there are three basic steps involved. And now that we are done with step 1, we are going to proceed with step 2, defining primary keys, foreign keys, and attributes. Here in step 2 with the data model constructed, we are now ready to design the relational database tables. This involves determining primary keys, assigning foreign keys, and defining attributes of the tables. I will explain to you here one by one the tables for each valid entity in the REA integrated diagram in figure 10-12. So for the red highlights encircled here are our two external agents, which are customer and supplier, and they require each a separate table. The two resources, inventory and cash, will each be a table. That's our yellow encircled highlights. And for the blue greenish encircled items, that would be our 8 events that requires a table. Ay, yung mga hindi naman natin in-encircle like the purchasing cash, receiving cash, and such would be our employee, and these are the 10 internal agents represented in figure 10-12 that will be collapsed into a single employee table. Lastly, the five M is to M relations represented in the diagram will each require a linking table. Now let's move on with the rules for primary keys and attributes and also for rules for foreign keys. Table 10-1 represents the 18 tables in Apex database along with their primary keys, foreign keys, and attributes. Later, we would show the table for that, and I would explain to you what does it mean for the primary keys and attributes. And also, the determination of primary keys and attributes comes from an understanding of each table's purpose. It results for a detailed analysis of user needs. The database designer should select a primary key that logically and uniquely defines the non-key attributes in the table. And some tables attributes are common to all organizations and can be derived from common sense. Other attributes naman are unique to specific applications and can be derived only from thorough and detailed analysis of individual user views. Lastly, if data stored in a table are not used in a document, report, or a calculation that is reported in some way, then it serves no purpose and should not be part of the database. Lastly, for the rules for foreign keys, the degree of association between tables, which are the 1 is to 1, 1 is to m, or M is to M, determines how foreign keys are assigned. Later, we would find their similarities and dissimilarities. As I have said earlier, the database designer should select a primary key that logically and uniquely defines the non-key attributes in the table. For example, here in our table dash 1, in some cases, this is accomplished with a simple sequential code such as an invoice number, check number, or purchase order number. In other situations, block codes, group codes, alphabetic codes, and mnemonic codes are better choices. Actually, we discuss the advantages and disadvantages of various coding techniques in detail in chapter 2. In continuation with Table 10-1, tables, keys, and attributes in Apex database, we have here an example. Table name, inventory order link. And the primary key for this table is item number and order number. In this example, we have no foreign key as we have discussed in the chapter 9 the key assignment rules for linking tables. And it's briefly reviewed there this section. Lastly, the attributes. it would be the quantity ordered. We have here the keys in 1 is to 1, 1 is to M, or M is to M. In case in 1 is to 1 associations, one side of the association will typically have a minimum cardinality of 0. When this is the case, the primary key of the table with the 1 is to 1 cardinality should be embedded as a foreign key in the table with the zero point 0.1 cardinality. Reversing this rule will create a table structure in which the cardinality table contains instances of foreign keys with a null or blank value. Next here is the keys in 1 is to M association, where a 1 is to M association exists between tables. The primary key of the 1 side is embedded in the table of the M side. For example, the primary key of the employee table or employee number has been assigned as a foreign key to the verify availability, take order, and ship product tables. Lastly, in the keys in M is to M association, wherein tables here cannot accept an embedded foreign key from the related table. Instead, the database designer must create a separate link table to contain the foreign keys. This process results in a combined or composite key that serves as a primary key for defining the attributes, if any, in the link table. So that's about it in the keys in 1 is to 1, 1 is to M, or M is to M. Lastly, for my part is the normalized tables, and here are the things to remember. One or more of these anomalies will exist in tables that are not normalized to the third normal form or 3NF level. And second, tables in 3 and F will be free of anomalies and will meet two conditions. One, all non-key attributes will be wholly and uniquely dependent on, defined by, the primary key. Second, none of the non-key attributes will be dependent on or defined by other non-key attributes. Lastly, the database tables in Table 10-1 are in 3 and F, but contain only minimal attributes. Keep in mind that databases are not static. As user needs change and additional user views are developed, additional attributes and perhaps additional tables may need to be included in the database. These additions must comply with normalization rules to preserve the structural integrity of tables and avoid anomalies. For a complete discussion of anomalies, dependencies, and normalization techniques, please review the appropriate sections of Chapter 9 and its appendix. Thank you.
Good day everyone, I'm Jedelyn Maica Abanico, and now I'm going to discuss the step 3 of view integration process, which is construct physical database and produce user views. First, the database designer is ready to create physical relational tables. So here, once the tables have been constructed, some of them must be populated with data. Next is resource and agent tables must be initialized with data values such as inventory quantities on hand, customer names and addresses, and employees' data. Also, the new system will start operations with beginning values for the attributes of these tables. In contrast, event tables start out empty and will be populated through actual transaction processing activities. Next is the resulting database should be rich enough to support the information needs of all users of the system being modeled. Here, it includes the needs of accountants, operation personnel, and management. Next is producing financial statements and other accounting reports. So in a traditional system, financial statements are typically prepared from general ledger accounts whose values are derived from journal voucher posting. So it means that the accounting artifacts including journal, ledger, and double entry accounting are not entities in a REA model. Instead, these traditional accounting mechanisms are reproduced from the event tables. So to illustrate, here is the figure 1013, which is the calculating accounting numbers from REA tables. So yung table na to ay nagre-represent siya ng mga structures for several relational tables in the Apex database. So, all the data na nandito sa table na to ay nakabase sa table 10.1 which is discussed earlier. Pero some attributes have been omitted to simplify this figure. So in short, this figure demonstrates how financial statement accounting figures can be constructed from underlying event data. The calculation for this table are total sales, account receivable, cost of goods sold, and inventory. Total sales is the sum of the invoice amount attribute in the shipped product table for all items shipped on or before the year-end closing date, while the account receivable naman is the total sales minus the sum of the received cash table's amount attribute for all the remittance received on or before the year-end closing date. Next is the cost of goods sold. So, cost of goods sold is the sum of quantities sold in the inventory ship link table multiplied by the unit cost attribute in the inventory table. Next is the inventory, which is the quantity on hand attribute multiplied by unit cost attribute in the inventory table. Next figure is reproducing journal entries from REA tables. So, this table show the accounting figure extracted from the REA tables that can be used in preparing income statement, balance sheets, and even journal entries. Next is producing management reports from REA table. So, a key objective of REA is to produce a database capable of supporting multiple user views. So, the figure shown here is the inventory status report, which would be used by the purchasing agent. This report identifies all the items to be ordered and the respective supplier. So, the next figure shown is the constructing a management sales report from the REA table. So, this table is a sale activity report organized by customer and product that would be used by the sales manager. So, this table is constructed from the data in the customer, ship product, inventory ship link, and inventory tables. Next figure is the customer inquiry report. So the purpose of this report is to track customer inquiries against actual sales. It also indicates how much time is spent on each customer inquiry and whether it led to a sale or not. So the customer verify availability, inventory verify link, inventory, and take order tables provide the data for this report. Next is the REA and the value chain analysis. So the competitive advantages to organizations that adopt the REA approach are most clearly seen from the perspective of the value chain. So these are the activities that add value or usefulness to an organization products and services. So to remain competitive, organization must differentiate between their various business activities, prioritizing them on the basis of their value in achieving organizational activities. So this means being adaptable and responsive to changes in the environment, including their relationship with suppliers, customer, and other external entities that influence performance. Next is the value chain analysis. So value chain analysis distinguish between primary activities and support activities, wherein the primary activities create values while support activities assist in the achievement of the primary activities. So, by applying value chain analysis, an organization can look beyond itself and maximize its ability to create value. Next is traditional information system are not well suited to supporting value chain activities. As a single information framework capable of capturing generic and fine-grained data, REA can overcome problems such as data redundancy, data concurrency, and system integration problems, and also capable of providing these following advantages. So, first is the REA approach to modeling business processes help managers focus on the key elements of economic events and identify the non-value added activities that can be eliminated from operations. So it also improves the operational efficiency of individual departments, thus generates excess capacity that can be redirected to increase the overall productivity of the firm. Next is the storage of both financial and non-financial data in a common database reduces the need for multiple data collection, storage, and maintenance procedures. Next is storing financial and non-financial data about business events in detailed form permits a wider range of management decisions by supporting multiple user views. Last is The REA model provides manager with more relevant, timely, and accurate information. Through this, it will translate to a better customer service, higher quality product, and flexible production processes. Next is REA Compromises in practice. Larger organizations often compromises the REA model for financial statement reporting purposes. Also, most companies implementing an REA model create an event database for operations, planning, and control purposes. It also maintains a traditional general ledger system separately in the background for financial reporting. And now for the summary. This chapter examines the REA model as a means of specifying and designing accounting information system that serve the needs of all users in an organization. It also illustrates the development of a REA database for a hypothetical firm following a multi-step process called view modeling. The steps involved are: first, identify the events to be modeled; second, identify the resource change by events; third is identify the agents participating in events; and lastly is determine associations and cardinalities between entities. Also discuss a three-step of view integration process, which are the consolidate the individual models. Next is define the primary keys, foreign keys, and attributes. And lastly is construct the physical database and produce user views. This chapter concluded with a discussion of how REA modeling can improve its competitive advantages by allowing management to focus on the value-added activities of their operations. And that's all for our report, the REA approach to database modeling. Again, I'm Jedelyn Maica Abanico, together with my groupmates Maxene, Keona, Vera, Cassandra Lei, Lorenzo, Allyssa, Gwyneth, Padilla, Unah, Kyla, Santiago, Camille, Siodena, and Emmar, Velasco would like to thank you for listening, and we hope you learned a lot.